What is going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. My name is Bill, and in today's video, doing something that should be very simple on the Bronco, but I've seen horror stories and seen people have a hard time with that. And that is, I just want to take these beauty rings off. I haven't decided if I'm going to paint them or get them powder coated, but I just want to turn it all black without the silver ring. The only thing that sucks about that is if I scratch it, then it's going to show the silver through a lot easier. Like over here, I did scuff it quite a bit already, and well, it's not super noticeable, but if I do paint or powder coat it black, any scratches on it will show through a lot more. But I guess we get to that point, maybe it'll be time to get some new wheels and tires. Now, I said that there's been horror stories on these because these aren't very deep, the threads on here, and if you don't get your wrench in there perfectly straight, it's very easy to strip these out. I've already went in with just a hand ratchet, and it's a T45. I've seen people say it's a Torx Plus, but these are not Torx Plus, just a regular T45. And I went ahead, broke them free with the hand tool, sprayed some PB blaster behind them. You see the ring's loose as it is, and hopefully they just come out now. Just going to keep pressure on it, keep it flat, and then just as you can see, they do have some thread locker on there, so that's another thing you want to be careful of. They do have thread locker on. It's not super important on these. These aren't actually bead locks. It's just a beauty ring. You take this off, you can run the tire without that. But yeah, you just want to be careful. And like I said, if you strip these out, it's an uncommon bolt size, so you have to order these through Ford, which can get expensive. Hopefully we don't need to do that. We got our sandwich bag, and so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 12 per wheel times 5 wheels, 56 to 60 bolts of being very careful. So it's going to take a little bit of time to get through these. Some of these are tighter than others. It's loose. The biggest thing, like I said, is making sure your tool is seated and keeping it flat so it doesn't round out any of those points, because they round out, then they start rounding out, there's not much to them, and then you're going to be drilling things out and replacing bolts. So anyway, and that's all there is to it for now. I'm going to go ahead, get all these bolts out, hopefully without any incident. If we do have any, I'll check in and let you know. Alright, so got the last bolt out. Event free, at least on this tire. And we can take that wheel off. Now, unfortunately, this has this silver underneath. There appears to be 2 different Sasquatch tires. There's ones like this that are all black. And it seems like the ones that are all black have less problems with these bolts coming off. And then there's some that are not all black, like they didn't. Guess they're like, hey, we don't need to finish the whole thing since it's going to have a cover over it. So unfortunately, you can't just take the cover off and leave it off and call it good. Where the ones that are all black, if you just take this off, it doesn't look bad, which is I was kind of hoping this would be, in case I have to leave it off for a little while to get it powder coated. Now, depending on how many I have that look like that, looks like these may be getting painted instead, which I can do quicker and get them back on and running. But yeah, I'll go ahead, start backing them off on all the other spray them down, and then we'll go through and take all of them off. Alright, so turns out I had all the same tire, or all the same wheels. All the ones I have are just this silver backing. Now, I didn't run into any that had black the whole way through, so, and it's fortunate that they all match since I don't have the rings on there, but kind of wanted one with at least one of the all black just to show the difference. Let's see if there was. Now, I didn't have any problems getting the screws out or the bolts out, except for this tire. For some reason, this tire, getting them started was harder than getting the other one started, and it seemed like these had more Loctite on them than any of the other ones. And all the other ones, they came off fairly easy. There seemed to be like 2 on each wheel that were a little bit harder than the rest. Once they're all broke free, I didn't have any problems. Just getting these ones back here broken free seemed to be the hardest, the most potential to strip out. Managed to not strip any. Got the nice big hefty bag of bolts that we don't want to lose. And yeah, so now I just got to figure out what I want to do with these. It is actually the 4th of July, so I can't call anybody about powder coating these today. So it'd be Monday before I can even find out, before I can even talk to the powder coater and see what their schedule looks like and see when they can get those in. Or I could spend the next couple of days cleaning scuffing them up, sanding those blemishes out a little bit, and then just painting them and throwing them back on. So, decisions. I don't know. It's really hot out right now. I'm going to go in, cool off, think for a minute, think about what I want to do, and go from there. I'm supposed to go off-roading on Sunday, so even if I did paint them today or tomorrow, I'll probably go ahead and leave them off till after Sunday anyway, so not to scratch them up before I get a chance to do anything. So I'll probably leave them off, go off-roading, and then I can put them back on afterwards, after I get everything cleaned back up. Make sure that there's nothing in the holes. So yeah, that'll be it for right now. I'll figure out what I want to do with those. Trying to finish them up myself. Start recording. If not, then I'll send them off to the powder coater and we will check in. I'm done, because yeah, I would love to powder coat them myself, but there's no way those are going to fit into my little oven right there. So yeah, me powder coating them myself's not an option unless I buy a bigger oven, and then I would need 220 for out here, which I don't have. So it's a whole thing. So yeah, I'm not powder coating them myself. Maybe somebody is, or maybe I'll paint them. We'll see. All right. Well, that's the one thing about black. It does not show up great on camera, especially gloss black. But yeah, there's this. I just did the one for now because that was the one that had the most damage. That's the one that was scuffed up really bad. That was on this tire back here. I just wanted to make sure that I could get it sanded down and paint it and all smoothed out and everything, that it would look okay, which I think it turned out great. You know, it's a good match. And this isn't any special paint. It is actually just this Rust-Oleum gloss automotive gloss black enamel, which seems to be a pretty good match and has a good gloss to it, not a bunch of orange peel. So that's all it is, just this paint here, and then some clear over top of that for a little bit of extra protection. I did order some black lug nuts too. I don't like how you can see the silver in there. There's 3 silver rings. So maybe I'll get a little brush and brush along the inside there with some of this just to get that, black that out as well. But yeah, I think that looks a lot better with the black ring, just because we're doing with the cyber orange accents. I think doing the cyber orange on the rings would have been a bit too much, and with the silver and or the gray in the cyber orange, it was a little bit too mix matchy, I think. So I think just blacking things out and then going with just the cyber orange accents will look better. But yeah, doing cyber orange for the rings would have been a bit overkill, I think. So especially with the black lug nuts. I'm not 100% sure what I want to do with the center caps. I may just leave them as it is. So it does have a little bit of contrast in there. Because, I don't know, I do think that wheel looks really good with the black ring on it. I guess, so pretty much now what I've got is a EvilleTruck version exterior. Because it's got the Sascot wheels with the black ring, which the EvilleTruck has, and I also have the gloss black Badlands grill, or basically a EvilleTruck grill. So yeah, I think it looks good. I think it'll look really good with the black rings on there and the black lug nuts, and then we'll see about the center caps if we want to leave them with the contrast. I think that'll be, it's just enough contrast if we just leave those alone, but we'll see once we get the rings on there and how everything looks together. And one thing to note, these are beadlock capable. You cannot use those beauty rings as the beadlocks. As you can see, there's a lot more holes in the wheel than are in the beauty ring. There's 12 in the beauty ring, and there's 12 more in here. And if you were going to do this as a beadlock, you would have to de-bead, because right there's a lip that's behind here in the tire, and when you inflate it, puts pressure on the outside, it's not going to pop out. So you'd have to de-bead it, or deflate the tire, de-bead it, and then pull this lip out, and the lip would sit right up against here, and it'd be about as thick as this. The tire itself would be about as thick as this lip. It would be a little bit less, and then you need to get the actual beadlock ring, which then sits on top of this and goes out that thick, and when you tighten it down, it clamps the tire between this and the beadlock ring. So, and that's what holds it on. And since it's clamped in there, when you deflate your tire, you can go a lot lower. Because right now, if you go too low on your tires, you can de-bead it. Like if you don't have enough pressure in there holding the tire up against the inside of the wheel, and you're off-roading, you could slide, you could actually de-bead this on the trail, and then you have a hard time, especially if all you have is a small compressor. You're gonna have a hard time getting this reseated and getting air back in there. So as a beadlock, you know, I'm sorry, or another issue is that if it's too low and there's not enough pressure, your tire could stay still and the wheel itself inside could start turning. So yeah, those are potential issues when you're air down. When you're using a beadlock though, and it's gripping onto that and it's clamped in there, there's no way for it. It's got enough force clamped down that it's not going to get pushed in. It's not going to get de-beaded. There's still potential to get de-beaded from the backside, but that's not going to be as big of an issue. And since it's clamped, you're not going to be able to turn the wheel inside the tire, no matter. Even if you were completely airless, it would be clamped in there, and it would make sure that the tire was turning just as much as the wheel, and that your wheel's not, or your tire's not stuck between two rocks, and your wheel's just spinning inside, heating up and melting the inside of your tire. So that's the difference between the beadlock capable and how it's installed, and then if you were to do it as a beadlock. And I said it's got twice the amount of holes because this is what actually, that ring that you put on here is what actually holds your tire on there, what clamps that on. It's not DOT legal to run beadlocks on public roads, and the reason being that these can back off. They have to be maintained, they have to be periodically checked. You have to make sure that the torques are good, because they could back off and the tire could come off on the highway. And I don't know if you've seen the way people treat their cars with just regular tires. That's scary enough, much less requiring people to maintain a torque and retorque sequence and periodic maintenance on just the beadlock ring, it's easier to just say, hey, don't run those on the street. Not that I don't think anybody would pull you over, because there's so many beadlock looking tires that I don't think anybody would even realize that you're driving around with beadlock wheels. But if you are, make sure that you are checking torques, you're retorquing, make sure, because that ring is the only thing keeping your tire on the rim or on the wheel. So just wanted to touch base on that real quick while I had this off, because I've seen some questions around how did this work? Do you need to take the beauty ring off to change the tire? You shouldn't have to. If you're worried about the shop scratching them up, you can, but shouldn't need to not scratch up your wheels. And I've seen people ask, can you use those rings as beadlocks? And no. First of all, they're too thin. These are not meant for structure. It's thin aluminum. These are not strong enough, and they aren't drilled out for all the holes that you need to make sure that you have correct pressure all the way around. Because yeah, if you don't have correct pressure, you're going to lose air, you're going to have problems. So anyway, with all that said, I do like that. I'm going to go ahead and get the rest of these prepped, and this one's got pretty bad stuff in it. And all that was I started with 220 grit and sanded down, smoothed that out as far as I had to, then upped it to 400 and then some 600, and kind of kept going further away from there until it was all blended in, and then I just did a 1500 over the entire surface and then sprayed it down. So I'm going to go ahead and do that with the rest of these and get them painted up, and we'll get them on. Alright, so some of these are in good shape. That's got a bit of a scratch on it. That's got a couple of small scratches and a chip. So yeah, the chip, I'm going to have to sand that down. One thing too, like the paint that was on here, when the bolt got tightened down, it did crack those, so make sure you peel that out of there and sand that down too. So that one's got a couple spots that needs to be fixed. So all of them have a couple blemishes. This is probably the one in the best shape. I probably don't need to go down to 200 on this. So I could probably start with the 400 just to get out these couple of scratches that are in there. And 400 grit's not very coarse. But it's plenty for like these small imperfections that are in here, which I could probably get away without even touching these on this one. But if I'm doing it, I might as well fix any little blemishes that there are. It probably won't be too long before I'm adding new ones, but it doesn't hurt. So make sure we get inside these ring holes, or the bolt hole where the head rests down in there, because those are kind of messed up. It's just raw aluminum, and it is painted. It looks like it has like a black primer on it, and then a couple of coats of this silver, gray, whatever you want to call it, paint on top, and then some clear on top of that. So yeah, these are painted already. So realizing that, I didn't feel so bad going with paint on this instead of powder coat, because it seems they're already painted, but powder coat would be stronger, a little more durable. If the paint does start getting damaged bad, I'll deal with that. I got some 600. But yeah, just where I hit it with the 400, I'll go back with the 600 to remove scratches from the 400. And then from there, I'll just go to the 1500 and call it good. Ideally, you'd want to do like 8 or 1000 before that, but I think with the paint that we're using and everything, the 600 and then just the 1500 final polishing on top of everything is all it needs. So yeah, I'll go ahead, get these all cleaned up, and then we'll hit these with some paint. So like here, one of the paint chips, once I get it sanded down past where the scratches are or anything, pretty well blended in and smooth once I get it cleaned up, and then start increasing the grip from there and going out. Because as you can see, and the 220 leaves a pretty rough finish, so we don't want that. So, but yeah, that's enough to get it smoothed out. Same over here. I think that one will be fine. And same thing like here. It's got a pretty big chip. It's all the way down to the aluminum there. So if we were to just scuff it and paint over that, then you would see the indentation there. So I just want to smooth that as much as possible, where there's not that hard lip there, and just kind of feather it into the surrounding paint. There you can kind of see the levels I was talking about. There's the raw aluminum, then the primer, and then the silver, and then it's got the clear coat, which all we really need to do is scuff the clear coat if we want to paint this. But like I said, we got these blemishes and stuff, might as well work out here. Let's get down in the... Yeah, I'm just going through them all right now, finding any big blemishes, sand that down. Once we get that smoothed out and to a good point, we'll go ahead and wipe them down, and then I'll come through and do the 600 on all of them, make sure we're good there, and then we'll go from there. Yeah, it changes from the cutout with sharp edges, and then we just keep sanding it down until it's a nice smooth transition. Then once we paint, you won't really be able to see that it's there. Luckily, none of the scratches, like some of the ones on that first one I did, they were pretty deep and into the aluminum, but all these other ones are surfacing. They're barely getting through the clear coat, much less the paint. So once, like this was down to the aluminum, but just a small spot. So nothing too damaging, luckily. And then this one, I think, yeah, just a couple small surface scratch. Oh, there's a real big one, big long scratch right through there, but that's all just in the clear coat again. So yeah, these should be easy enough to get finished up. All right, so got everything sanded down, wiped everything down a few times with alcohol, got it as clean as possible, swept up in here for the 80th time. It's amazing how much dust is in this garage. I've been trying to keep it somewhat clean, and it seems to be a futile job, but got everything cleaned up once again. And I went ahead and hung these to paint them, just because when you're using these spray cans, if you leave it on the ground and you got to go over top, these cans don't spray great in a horizontal position. They spray much better when you're holding them upright. So for that reason, I figured it'd be better to go ahead and hang them. The one problem is with this, I got to be very careful and make sure I'm getting that bottom, which is harder to see and could easily be missed. So you want to make sure you're getting all the way around. I'm not even priming them, doing anything like that. As long as they're scuffed and good, this paint should stick to it without any problem. I'm not using any adhesion promoter or any extra primer or anything like that. Maybe that's a mistake, but we'll see. I'm just going to hit it with a light coat first. you are going to lay it on the ground to do it, set it on something like I used a broom handle and a piece of metal just to keep it elevated last time when I did the one, just so it doesn't stick to the ground and it's raised up so you can get along that edge without messing anything up. Yeah, see, and it just, the instructions say 2 or more coats, light coats, several minutes apart. So I said just did really light coat there. We'll wait a couple minutes and come back, do some more. And yeah, we don't need to go super thick. I'm going to do a lot of coats with this just to make sure we got plenty of paint. So if we do scratch, hopefully it's got some depth to it and we won't go straight to metal right away. But I don't want to put too much on one coat and get runs or orange peel or anything like that. So we're just going to keep going a smaller, lighter coat. That was too heavy right there. Hopefully that'll smooth out, but definitely hit that a little too heavy right there. Like that coat I didn't even do directly on the face. It's around the outside and inside ledges, which has some overspray onto the front, just like when you did the front, and there was some overspray on the back. So now I'll wait a few minutes. I'll do the faces again, do the inside and outside edges, and kind of just keep going back and forth like that. I'll use at least 1 can of paint for these. It seems like from how much I have left, that'll probably be enough, but I do have another can just in case. All right, so now I just have this 2K clear from Custom Cans, who I'd ordered the paint from for when I painted the grill. Now, a lot of 2K, I've seen you have to put the button in the bottom and smash it up. This one is a little different. It's got a little ring that comes with it. And you put the ring in the bottom and turn, and you can hear it inside do its thing, kind of release. Now you just got to shake it for a couple minutes, shake it up. And you should be using a respirator if you're spraying this stuff or anything like it. Should probably be using it for just the regular spray paint, but I'm just going to spray this and get out of here. Yeah, I'm about to head out, do some trail rides, so these could stay here and dry for the next day or two till I get back and then get the Bronco cleaned up and all that. So these can go on afterwards, not before. I'm really glad I hung these up. This can is dripping like crazy. And if I had that laying on the ground, this would have been dripping all over it. So. Yeah, this is leaking bad. So. I wasn't super happy with their black paint either. The paint itself was fine, but the spray was not very good. I didn't like the spray pattern. And now this, the spray is a little erratic and it's leaking all over the place. So I don't think I'll be ordering from Custom Cans ever again. the spray is going in the garage. Then you're on to... my finger's stuck to this thing now. Yeah, this is a weird spray. You have to hold it super close. Normally I like to keep a little bit of distance away and it lays flat that way. This I have to get really close to get it to lay right. Otherwise it looks kind of like almost like a satin finish. It's not glossing up. Yeah, so far this is my second. I tried their black with the grill and their clear coat now, and I can honestly say I won't be ordering from them again. I'll just go back to using the automotive touch-up if I need color, because they've been really good. I've had really great success with their color and their cans and their premix for the sprayer, or just using my sprayer for clear, or using the Spray Max 2K clear. But yeah, hopefully this will dry out and harden and look okay, but I'm gonna go ahead and get out of the garage and we'll see how that looks once it's dried. All right, so swapped out the lug nut, and I did hit a little bit of paint back in the recesses there. It's kind of hard to see on camera because everything's just black on black. And then if we come around, we got the rings installed and the updated black lug nuts, so all looks good. And I think I will just go ahead and leave the horse logos as they are. I think it looks good with a little bit of contrast in there. So we'll see as we continue things with the Bronco. So now it's pretty much all blacked out except for the cyber orange accents, a little bit of chrome, and we do have some other small modifications on their way. So yeah, I think that's going to go ahead and wrap it up for this video. Hope you enjoyed it. If you have any questions, leave me a comment down below. If you'd like to see more videos like this in the future, hit the subscribe button, and we'll see you next time.